Hello and welcome to Session 0. I am Lincoln L. Hayes. This is the season finale of the show. I'm very excited for the panel that I have assembled to round things out. Let's just jump right in and see all these glorious faces. Welcome everybody to the show. You've seen them all before because I have a limited number of friends and it's a pandemic. But you know what? They're all good people and I'm glad they're here. Let's go around and do some introductions, starting with, I do have two people on this episode who are just behind me for the most appearances on this show. One of them being Jessica Ayers. Welcome to the show, Jess.
Hi, that's me. I'm Jess, and I've been here before.
It's very true. She's back, and that's what's important.
And I'm very excited to be on your season finale.
Yay! Thank you. Next up, Eliza Cappell. Welcome back, Eliza.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be back. It's been so long.
It has been all of 3-4 weeks or so, I think.
Yeah.
But it's great to have you back. Also back rather recently, Mr. Jon van Luling. Welcome back, John.
Oh, yes. It's like I never left your room. I'm just always here.
I knew there was something in here that was strange, and it was you all along.
Always is me.
And welcome back, Mr. Matthew Woods. Hello, Matt.
Hello. Always a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Love the hat, as per usual.
And I picked up my special gay witch shirt.
Excellent, excellent. Jess and I are actually matching. Don't forget to love each other.
Nice.
Very good, very good. And rounding things out, Philip Krogmeier. Welcome back, Philip.
Hi, everybody. Good to be back.
In cold Colorado Springs. But you know what?
Yes.
It's going to be okay, Philip. It'll be okay. All right, ladies and gents, season finale time. Let's get this shit right. Finally, 14 episodes in, we're going to get this right. Okay, here we go. Let's roll initiative.
Natural 1.
Oh, John, I'm so sorry. You should probably just log off the call.
Yeah, I'm just going to turn it off right now. I'm sorry.
All right. First question to Eliza. How did your group or groups first form?
Yeah, so my main group met at a game shop, as I'm sure many groups did. And I was very lucky because this was the same group that I still play with every week. Was the very first group that I actually joined. Very first time I ever played D&D, walked in, they randomly assigned me a group where there was a little extra space, immediately died that game because that's how all my characters go.
That's what you do.
Yeah, but I loved it. I showed up again the next week, the same group was there, and a couple of weeks went by and we were starting a Waterdeep campaign, but we were getting a little frustrated there were a couple of other players that weren't didn't quite mesh as well with our group, and it was also getting expensive, I guess, is part of the reason. But it was getting a little pricey to stay at a actual game store, which everyone that shouldn't dissuade anyone from trying to go. It's a great place to meet people, but we were going every week, and all of us were buying drinks and food, and so eventually we agreed to meet at someone's apartment, and then we would just bring beer and pizza and whatever, and it was awesome.
I always wanted that game store experience, and I tried to get it in Vermont, where I know John from, and I found the game store there to be a little elitist.
A little
was being nice.
Sorry,
I sent them one message on Facebook and they sent one back that was so snarky and mean. I was just like, well, unfollow. I don't need to know about you. Ugh. And they always
wondered because of the only one.
Days.
They're the only one there.
Yeah, that's the worst part. They have the market, and they're not nice.
Nice.
The one I went to was very nice, so some of them are good.
All right, Matt, same question to you. How did your/our group start?
I play with my closest friends, and I've always wondered what it would be like to play with people I don't know that well. We started playing, 2.5 years ago.
Almost 3.
And I had listened to a little bit of the Adventure Zone, but was mostly influenced by Stranger Things. I obviously had friends who had played, and like there was a conversation going around of like, do you guys want to try? And so I was actually really nervous to start. I thought I would do a bad job. And like 2 episodes in, I was hooked.
I purposely avoided listening to the Adventure Zone because I knew they were playing at least a modified version of Lost Minds, and Rachel had just bought it for me. And I was like, well, if I end up playing this, I don't want to know how it goes. And I wasn't ready to DM at that point. So I was like, I'm not going to read the book. I was just in this weird spot of like, I don't want to listen to this, but I don't want to read the thing either. And then when we decided to play, I was like, well, now I have to do both. Philip, how did your game or games begin?
My very first party that I played D&D with was a 3-5 group made of a bunch of engineering students from my floor at college. And most of that same group actually stuck together over the course of the next, it's been like 15 years almost now.
Jeez.
And a group of us still actually play together almost every week. My other current group is my wife and my in-laws, and we play together over Skype like every other week. College was the first opportunity. Lincoln and I grew up in the same town, and there was like nobody who knew how to play D&D in our hometown.
Don't you kind of want to go back in time and just commandeer either of our church basements and just be like, this is where we play Dungeons and Dragons now?
Could have worked.
That is satanic. Come on.
I know, that's the best part.
It's in the belly of the beast at that point.
Yeah.
Hide it in the basement of the Catholic Church. Oh yeah.
Some crazy shit could happen down there. Jess, how about you?
That's me. I'm currently in like several games right now, which is a embarrassment of riches, and it has its benefits, but it also has its drawbacks. But the main group is the game that we stream called Fables of Refuge. Kind of came out of another group, a larger group. We just were like, hey, we miss Dungeons and Dragons, and this was 2-3 years ago, and we weren't ready to jump into like 5e yet, but my fiance and I had experience with Pathfinder, so we're like, let's teach our friends Pathfinder. We're going to play that, and we played that, and then eventually that moved over to 5e just because it was easier because the group kept getting bigger and bigger. But then out of that, one of our friends in that group was like, I want to start a streaming show, and he did. And now I'm on it.
Similar to how this show started. I played a lot of D&D, and I was like, I want to talk to more people about D&D. And then I made a show, and here we are in the season finale, all together as friends. John, we got to you.
We did.
I was worried. But we got
you. I rolled in that one. I shouldn't be able to speak at this point. I've lost my tongue or something.
Your tongue fell out.
I did want to ask Jess, though, did you also stop playing Pathfinder because you guys didn't have a graphing calculator to keep track of all your numbers?
Funny enough, I do have a graphing calculator left over from college, but...
Why?
But everyone needs one. That's the problem. As you're playing Mathfinder, you end up that way.
Exactly. Yes. Well, and because 2.0 was starting to come out at that point, and we're just like, we don't want to learn a new system. Let's go to something easier.
Right.
Yeah.
I have not yet dabbled in Pathfinder 2.0.
If you need to set aside a month and a half just to get through the first couple pages, then you'll be
It's like a calculus book.
It really is.
I mean, I played a lot of 3.5. I think I could probably handle the numbers. So
I grew up on 3.5, and Pathfinder 2 still made me. It was like going from high school math to college math. It was like, okay, this is going to be fun.
After playing 5e, I don't know that I could go back to Pathfinder because 5e is just so streamlined. But I digress.
For my games, I started in college playing 3.5 as well, in a game with 9 people. We all got in a conference room, and I came in. They were doing an epic level campaign. That was my first game I ever played. Was an epic level campaign that they threw me into and gave me a character and said go. And the only reason it worked was because 4 of my teammates from the improv team I was on were also in this room, so we just played and we went nuts and we let it go. And the DM God love him, was amazing at working 9 players into this game and making it work and giving us all story beats. It was insane. And I will call him out. James Pocklington was one of the best DMs I ever had. From there, it became, as I moved around to Chicago and stuff, I'd dabble with different groups of people. Usually it was like if I'd been in a show with somebody and I'd brought my D&D books with me, they'd know. I'm like, oh yeah, let's sit down and see if we can do a one shot. So either I'd run one or I'd be in it. And then moving back to Vermont, I couldn't find a regular game because my friends from college were still here, but they were doing their own things. I played anything but D&D because they were all sick in D&D. So I played all these other things, but then how I missed out on Lincoln, I don't know. We never played a game together. It was very sad.
I don't know.
Needs to be remedied. And my current one literally was my DM from high school called me and said, hey, I've got a bunch of friends that want to play D&D over during this thing. And they're like, can you come in and just be an experienced player? And it's been one of the best things ever because I literally sit back and just can do whatever I need to. And I know better than to like steamroll everyone that I used to, which is so much more fun.
For sure. Yeah. I don't know how we missed that. Improvised Weapons was just about to start when I started playing. His DM and the DM of Improvised Weapons, Sam Kernet, ran a one shot for us, and he ran like the first 10 pages of Lost Minds. So I did Lost Minds before I ran Lost Minds, which was fun. But then I ended up playing another game with a coworker of mine as our DM. We only played it once a month, and it didn't go great, which was unfortunate, and it kind of soured. So then I was really worried about becoming a DM. And then once we played a little bit, I still worry about it all the time. Stomach ulcers, but it's very fun and we have a blast. Great. We're going to go on.
That don't want to DM love you.
And the Mr. Bottom Middle Square is about to DM, which I'm super excited about. He's cooking something up for us that I can't wait for. All right, we got to roll again for our next question. Toss those 20s. So we're going to start with John again. Last, then first. That's the way to do it. All right. How much of you is in each of your characters? Or if you only have the one character that you want to talk about. How much of Jon van Luling is in Yarfik or Rock?
Yep, Rock Holebreaker, my Minotaur.
I like it.
He's an arcane trickster, and so it's fun to have a giant character that's also really supposed to be dexterous, and he's not. He's very intimidating, which is the best part. For me, it starts off not being me. I forcibly try to play like a character, but obviously as we go along, parts of me fall in there, parts of me become it. Especially if I'm making side comments with other players as the DM's going through stuff, which I probably shouldn't be doing.
Part of the game.
Obviously, if I have an accent picked out, then it's easier not to be me, or if I try to do a different caricature or sit in a certain way. But there's always parts of me or just my thinking where it's hard to like pull it away sometimes where I'm doing tactical thinking where it's not me, or in an interaction when I can, having done improv for so long, I just I don't want to force a story to happen. So I'm kind of like sitting there trying to add more things into the situation, give somebody to something to react to, or at least have the DM do something fun, especially when I'm playing on the podcast, because it's Sam Kernet and you throw the minimal thing at him and he'll just run with it for like a mile and a half.
The dude is a wizard, which sounds stupid because we're talking about dungeon masters, but the dude is a dungeon master wizard. It's unfair the way that he can roll with shit. The fact that he was able to create an entire courtroom drama in a D&D podcast, and it was compelling too. It wasn't like, this is skippable. It was fucking good.
He created it on the fly. This is episode 2 with a new group that he never played with, and he created an entire mechanic for how it worked, and it was seamless.
And then the bard was a prosecutor. It was fantastic.
Well, it had to be. You don't want the dwarf to be the prosecutor.
I object. Just sit down. Shut up. Eliza, how about you?
Similarly, I don't think I go into it trying to recreate like any of myself into my characters, but it just shows up as you're like having different personalities explored. And yeah, it's just, there's always going to be some little trait of yours, whether or not either something in yourself that you like about yourself, and you're just like, kind of like it shows up naturally in your character. It could be something you aspire to me. I often have my characters be very like bubbly and happy and excited. I like to have like high charisma because I myself am not super energetic and outgoing. So I think I like to sometimes create a character that is that way. I've also done characters that have a flaw that I don't like in myself. And that way I get to almost make fun of it and like highlight it and kind of like self-referential is as far as like oh yeah, this is totally like an annoying thing, and like now I can kind of like laugh at it instead of like just like, oh no, everyone's gonna hate me kind of thing. But yeah, it always shows up in some way or another. I think even if you're avoiding it, it just happens.
Jess, how about you?
I've definitely had a character, a bard character I made who like was me. But like I gave her a high charisma skill because it's bard, but I played her super awkward.
Nice.
Like she wasn't good like with people, but if you put her on a stage or like have her play an instrument, that's where she was useful. But when
she was a performer.
So she was an actor.
I don't know how to talk to a human, but I'm really good at what I do.
Yes, exactly. So I played with that, and when I tried to explain it to people like outside who were into D&D but who weren't like actors, they're like, "That's stupid." I'm like, "You're invalidating me."
Can I ask something about that? Because I've run into that too, where like if you play a high charisma character, it's supposed to be like, oh, you're supposed to be in this amazing like talkative person or something else. But I mean, this came up in our podcast where my character has a decently high charisma, but he's abrasive and annoying. And so that's the charisma part of it. It's like you can get these things done, but people are doing it because they want you to shut up, not because they want you to like keep talking. And so charisma doesn't have to be good. It never does.
Yeah. Exactly.
Think of like a
forcing your will.
Evil. Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
My current bard, it has ridiculously high charisma, but that's because he's pretty, not because he's good at anything else.
And I've heard of people making characters that give them a really high charisma and their personality sucks, but they're like, no, I'm gorgeous.
Yeah.
But then I also play another character who has like negative charisma, like I think she's an 8 charisma, but she's very sweet and like endearing to everyone. It's my Dragonborn Tazu. She's very like effervescent and excited about things, but she's just kind of like awkward and annoying, but it's like endearing. So she comes across as kind of stupid, but really she just kind of like says whatever comes to her brain. And I think we've all known that person that you're like, oh, I like being around you, but you need to shut up sometimes.
But a little bit.
A little bit.
And also shut up.
Yeah, exactly.
Philip, on to you, good sir.
I found that I've put a lot of myself into a couple of different characters over time. My very first D&D character was an elf paladin, half-elf paladin named Elidan, after one of Elrond's sons from Lord of the Rings.
Solid.
And Elidan, as a paladin, was me as I was in like high school, like the perception of like the good like Catholic altar boy, like straight A student kind of me. The me.
Don't forget show choir, Philip. Do not forget show choir.
Fair,
we rock that shit.
Yeah. No, the me that Lincoln knew in high school. Then I've done like a Warforged Jetsam, who was kind of my Ren Fair pirate persona. And then my current character, Valkyrin, is my gnome bard. And Valkyrin is probably the closest to just kind of me now, as far as any character that I've played.
You have this evolution of growing into your characters and becoming one with them. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it definitely just kind of depends on the character and the group I'm playing with, but there's a lot of elements of different aspects of my personality that come through in each one.
Very good. And lastly, Matt, how much of you is in Betwixt, Ozzy, and Wolf?
Very much, actually. Personality-wise, I think they're all like a different facet of my personality. Like Wolf was a quiet loner, Betwixt is a spooky witch, and Ozzy is a party boy. And at like one time in my life, or depending on the day, I'm each of those characters, and simultaneously I'm all of them. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I can't help but like put myself into the things that I do and make, you know? Like, I think we all have agreed on that. Like, no matter if you're trying to do it or not trying to do it, you're in there.
Yeah,
It's kind of hard to escape. And also, I feel like it could be an interesting challenge to play something that's like very different from you.
Mhm.
But I think I'd be tired of it pretty quick of like, I can't connect with this. I don't like this. And I feel like my character Crew actually kind of started as that because he was just going to be in this one little adventure and then he was going to leave. But then I was having a lot of fun with the group and the character was interesting because I had never played a spellcaster before. So I was like, I think I'm going to stick with this. And he's kind of evolved into like me if I had magic and I could fly away from any danger. Like if fight or flight was literal and I could fly away and just bombard you with magic, that's kind of me.
He's your Aarakocra, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's developed this interesting character trait as of late where he is very jealous, which is, well, that's a lot of me, but he's gotten very jealous that one of my party members, Bull Maris, befriended a Myconid named Brent. Terrible name, especially for a Myconid. But it has become this running joke now that we all hate Brent. Fuck Brent. He's the worst. And it's all because he was just like hanging out with these Myconids. And I was like, well, Crew goes over. He's like, what are you doing over here? Who is this? Who is this? Are you trying to bring him into our group? How dare? And like, it just turned into this whole thing. He's always like, Brent's fine, guys. And we're like, no, fuck Brent. And it's because of Crew's insecurity and possible secret love for Bull Maris. It's delightful.
I should.
All right. Okay,
Just
give me
don't
another
shroom it.
roll for another question. First question to Matthew, and this actually works great because I kind of know the answer. Have you ever played a character of a different gender or no gender at all? And if so, how did you make that decision? And did you notice anything new or different when playing said character?
Yes. Betwixt is my goblin necromancer, and they are non-binary, and sex has not really come into play in that game. But I would also say like probably asexual. I didn't choose it consciously. I started playing the character before I had considered what I wanted them to identify as. And as the game started going, like situations would arise and I would like decide on a whim back and forth as to how they felt that day. And it has really worked out well for the character because they also, like being a necromancer, it's like a play between life and death. And then there's like the in-between, the other sides of things, so it's like life and death. Gender is fluid, changeable, whatever you're feeling, like, oh, you were this, you're gonna be this now.
Very cool. I didn't realize that. I thought early on you had established that it was they, them for Betwixt. That's interesting.
I mean, it happened pretty quickly because I started making like random choices.
Mm-hmm. And actually, Betwixt was introduced into our game when I was a player. So I don't remember it all that well because I was trying to learn how to play a monk very quickly. John, same question to you.
I did. So in Chicago, one of the kind of one-shot games we had, I was playing with basically an entire party of all female presenting people, and they wanted an all-female game, but they didn't have enough friends that played, so they asked me to come in and play one, and I was like, sure. And for this one, I can't say much for it other than the fact that it didn't come into play that we were all female. It wasn't like a thing. It was we were all good characters, but having a gnome barbarian who's also female and like getting to be just as bizarre and, you know, fart, smack, spit, do all the things I want to do was really fun to do. And honestly, whenever I've had it come up in a game or I've been on a panel with it as well, like unless you're trying to call it out for a reason and you don't talk to the DM about that, there's a problem with it. There's no reason that it should be anything to do with anything until you need to set up any type of romantic relationship if you want. But usually that doesn't come into play. And if it does, it's organic. So it doesn't really matter.
Funny. The female character that I've played was also a barbarian. That's kind of fun. She was like 6'9" and very demure. And then Matt's character was a blood hunter werewolf. and he basically had a bad trip and attacked her. So then she freaked out and flew into a rage and attacked him back. And they're all like, "Holy shit, what are you?" She's like,
It
"I'm
went
really
really
sorry."
poorly for Wolf.
It did not go well. Like, my whole plan was, all right, she's just gonna stay in the back, kind of stay out of the way until she gets attacked, and then she gets attacked by Wolf, and it's just like, well, here she is. Come on.
Those moons, man.
I loved Gliffelheim the Pebble because she was 3'2" and built like a rock, just like stacked. And the move was, we had a fighter who was strong enough to pick her up, would throw her into battle raging, and she would go in like dual wielding axes and just going. It was so nice.
Oh, that's the best.
So many kobolds died that night. It was wonderful.
Yeah, I am also a very big fan of Lady Gladdenfield Smythe. She's my girl. Eliza.
Very, very stupidly, a lot of my characters at first were men, but we all make mistakes. There was things that I myself had not quite come to realize. So my actual last male character was pretty. He was actually very gay, which by sheer coincidence actually mirrors a lot of like the trans experience of like right before you come out, like maybe I'm just gay. It turns out I was, but just in a different way. But that was actually the one character I've ever asked the DM to kill, because I realized what was happening with me. And I really wanted to start trying she/her pronouns within the context of D&D, which is something I know is also very common for a lot of like trans people. A lot of them get attracted to D&D and role playing, and they use that as a space to kind of like safely explore their pronouns. I've heard plenty of jokes online of like, if someone in your group if people in your group are playing like a character that doesn't match gender and no one is trans, one of you will be chosen. I was the one that was chosen. So
everyone roll for initiative.
But I asked my DM to kill me. I didn't really tell him why, because I wasn't comfortable coming out yet. So we actually went back and forth on it, because I had a great character. He had a great arc planned out for me, and I felt so bad because he put so much planning into it, but it was like really killing me. He was a Goliath, which also meant I was doing like a really deep voice too. And so I switched over to a female character, which I played women in the game before, but this was my first time for like a campaign. And I think it took like 2 sessions until I came out to my group and explained what was going on. And they were all very supportive and wonderful.
Good.
But all my characters since then are either non-binary or women. I don't really like playing male characters at this point, but I have played also around with like sexuality as well, a little bit within the context of the game. Most of my characters are bi, even if it doesn't necessarily come up, because that's like how I consider myself. But yeah, so it's pretty much all of them are at least bi, and then all of them now are women, which I was using at first just to explore my own gender questions and preferences and pronouns, stuff like that.
Very cool. I love this game, guys. That's awesome.
It's a great game.
Really is.
Yeah, pro tip to anyone out there that wants to try out pronouns, try to join a D&D group. Just see how it is. See how it goes.
Most are really supportive as well. Like, it's one of those safer spaces to play in, which is very nice.
Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, there was no question at all when Matt was like, betwixt is they, them. We're all just like, all right. And like, I made a note. They, them, there, did.
Yeah.
I all 3 characters that I've played, none of them are how I identify.
That's true. Yeah.
Because a straight man, a pansexual man, and a non-binary asexual.
Yeah. That's crazy. Good for you. Good growth. We did.
Also unintentional. I mean, if you're going to make a Fae-aligned warlock satyr, they have to be pansexual.
For sure.
They will be heterosexual, and that is it. That is all that lives in the Fae world.
I'm pretty sure it's a rule that all satyrs are pansexual.
Right.
Your patron is pan, so it's right there in the name.
Some of them, like Warforged, have to be like agendered and asexual, because they're just like I don't understand your fleshy desires. A lot of them really lend towards stuff like that.
They are blank slates. It's great.
Yeah.
Ken dolls. Yeah. Jess.
I have limited experience playing other genders. I played the Star Wars RPG a couple of years ago, and it kind of, because we were kind of learning it at the group I was playing with, we were learning. And so it kind of came with like some suggested preset characters. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll just be this Wookiee that's a boy. And so that's the first time I ever played like a male character. And I was like, this guy's awesome. And so, but then our friend who was running the game kept calling me she, and I got upset. Like, I noticed inside, I was like, no, he, and that might have been like the first little seed in my brain that was like, maybe I'm not a girl, like maybe I'm non-binary, maybe. So like, so that was actually really helpful sort of in that journey. But it definitely made me understand more about why pronouns are important. Like I felt irritated by it, and it was like a 2 or 3 hour game, and I was just like, stop calling me she. My boy's a boy, he's a he. And like it like didn't matter, but it did at the time. And then just recently
rip his arms off.
Yeah, right. And then just
known
recently right, we played a one shot, one of those 1-page one shots that Greg Howitt, is that his name? Grant Howitt, I can't remember his name, makes these 1-page one shots. I know Critical Role's done like Honey Heist and Crash Pandas was the other one, I think. But anyway, we did this one called Kobold Endeavor. And so I played a non-binary kobold, which actually just kind of came out by accident because we were just playing. And so when I was describing my character, I said they, that's just what I said. And then while I was sitting there playing it, I was like, they're a they. And that just made sense. It was sort of organic and natural. So yeah, that's kind of my only real experience, unless you count all of the female characters that I've played, where I now as a person, I'm not really sure how female I am. So what is gender? I don't know.
None of us really know. With kobolds, it's fun because if I remember correctly, canonically, if they lose their like tribe, that if it's a male that lose their tribe, they become female, like a clownfish or something. Yeah.
Oh.
So actually, that's I haven't really played any like canonically trans characters except one, which was a kobold, which lost her whole tribe and then became a female kobold because
that's cool.
how it works.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Jurassic
That's
Park.
neat. I like that.
Someone please
Like
fact check
Jurassic
me on that,
Park.
but I'm pretty sure.
I
Well, I
need
mean,
to
it's
go
kobolds.
dive back into
Volos.
Yeah, because that has some ridiculous details about some of the different playable races.
That's cool. Yeah, I'll have
Well,
to look that
conveniently,
up,
Philip,
too.
it's your turn to answer the question.
Oh, fun. Early on, I played a couple of female characters. Probably one of my favorite was Eliza, who was just the world's most cheerful necromancer.
I smell spinoff.
With an E, unfortunately, not an A. I'm sorry. But Eliza was kind of my first exploration of my own gender and sexuality within a character. After that, I started playing a couple of Warforged characters who were ostensibly male, but again, being Warforged, don't actually have
Parts.
Which is interesting because they're warforged and they're made of parts.
You have
Parts
a
are
lot of parts, just
optional.
not those parts.
Parts are optional.
Yeah, they're add-ons. You could do like DLC kind
That's
of.
DLC for sure. Yeah.
You got to get the $20 Explorers Pass or whatever.
Yeah.
DLC, exactly. DLC.
Subscription only.
Subscription only.
And just as time went on, I played several other female characters and male characters of kind of all different sexualities as I kind of came to terms with the fact that I was bi, and then later on that I was gender fluid, and it's all been kind of a path of exploration. Like Eliza mentioned, it's a great way to kind of test things out and figure out how you're feeling about stuff, pronoun wise and everything else.
This is fascinating. I just want you all to know that this is such a good conversation and I'm learning so much. All right, next question I need you to roll initiative, please.
8.
Jess.
I want you to know that I rolled all 4 of these dice before we started and they all rolled 18 or higher. Not so much. Not when it
We
comes
see
to
your
initiative.
good rolls.
Matt and
I
Philip.
rolled
Tuckered them out. They're tired now.
13.
13. In my game last night, I rolled 4 natural 20s. I felt
What?
terrible.
Did
And
you use the purple
DM,
dice?
as the,
Yes,
right,
I
as
did.
the DM, yes.
Ugh.
They were the purple
I
dice.
hate those dice.
Did you kill someone?
No, but I constricted a turtle and a giant constrictor snake.
Oh no.
Like you do.
I got 3 natural 20s in a row once with an attack roll, and one-shotted the boss for the session.
See, that's just mean to your DM. Because then they're just like, well, session over. I didn't plan anything else. Go home.
Pretty much.
No, that's when the DM quickly adds another 100 hit points behind the screen.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's resurrected.
Yeah. Entertainingly enough, that was while playing my doppelganger character who, surprise, could, shapeshift.
All right, John, what is your dream setting for a D&D campaign?
Oh, I've played so many of them. Honestly, I would love to play one where we're all, employees at a tavern going through corporate training and things go sideways. And we can't all break out of it. There's the experienced, line cook that's over here. You've got the front desk person. You've got all of us. And we have to band together not only to get the tavern open on time, but deal with the existential horror that's living in the basement dungeon.
Ooh.
Oh my God. All right. I'm writing that down for a one shot. Oh my God.
Please
don't steal it yet, Eliza, because I got season 2 to plan here, and this seems like a good group to play. Escape from the demon tavern, I guess.
I've played so many expansive ones where you start, in jail, you start someplace else, you don't know each other. This is the perfect thing. You're a bunch of strangers that have come together for training, and it's all with like ship in a bottle. It's all right there. You can only interact with the tavern. You're locked out, you're blocked, and you just deal with the crap in the tavern while also doing your jobs because the overlord's going to come in soon.
It's too real. I couldn't play it. It's too real. You know how many restaurant openings I've been a part of? It's night. It might as well be an eldritch horror in the basement. I prefer that to actually opening a restaurant.
Oh, I'm with you 100%. And I feel like I need to exercise those demons by doing it in D&D where I have control over something.
Yes.
There's a side quest where you have to do side work.
While
you're fighting, you have to roll napkins.
Because
marry those guys as fast as you can. I'm going to use
one of the guys
action.
is leaning, gets like Bane because his time to lean, he has time to clean. He can't move.
My God, get out of here with that.
Does that mean that everybody has to be a barbarian because there's so much rage in that room?
Everybody's at least multi-class and has at least one level of barbarian.
Yes.
Oh, at least.
And half of you are going to be bards because you all have an audition tomorrow,
For the same thing.
Or your rogues is you're an ex-con.
Yep. And you're just stealing tips. Mm-hmm. This is insane. And it's giving me anxiety thinking about it.
I know.
But also sounds very fun.
I have server nightmares and I haven't worked in a restaurant in years.
Same.
It's awful.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with
you. Philip. Dream campaign.
I think it would be really fun to do something. I mean, to just like pull an existing world. I think it would be really fun to play something like set in Hyrule and
nice.
You're just trying to do your shit and like Link rolls through and just smashes everything behind you.
You have a
restaurant in Hyrule.
You have a store full of clay pots.
Right.
And fucking Link, you're just like, damn you.
But I'm playing a game right now that's basically set in Midgar in Final Fantasy VII, and it's so ridiculous because it's like a 3.5 Pathfinder game where we've got all kinds of magic and everything, but it's being reskinned as materia and all kinds of different stuff. We're just trying not to get Shinra to kill us. It's kind of ridiculous.
Hear me out with the Hyrule. Your claypot salespeople like on the road, and you have to like track where like Link's like damage is gone, and you're like trying to go to the towns and like sell and make bank, but then things happen on the road, and like maybe one day you see Link coming your way, and you have to hide all your wares. And like
okay. So now see that gives me some Trigun vibes going on. Where you've got like the main characters are like insurance agents who are trying to track down this guy who is wreaking havoc across this planet.
Yes.
And none of it's his fault. But you still have to feel sorry for these poor insurance claims adjusters who have to tag along after.
Roll for paperwork.
I actually had an idea for a sketch that was the Avengers lawyers. So after they destroy New York, they're all just sitting there trying to figure all this shit out, and they're just like, what did they do?
Oh,
They
that was already
smashed
a
what?
comic series.
Yeah,
Oh, for
Lincoln.
Christ's
sake.
I'm
That.
pretty sure they canceled the damage control spin-off that they were gonna do. Pretty
Oh,
sure
really?
that kind of went.
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
It was
my
a
idea
comic
was better
series though
than
for a
that.
little while too.
Yeah,
And they
I mean
referenced it in
they.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, no, they tried spinning it off out of Homecoming, but
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I will say in the Hyrule setting, the other thing you have to worry about is that if Link rolls by you at any point, even if you're the insurance adjusters, it's the creepiest thing in the world because he just stares at you. He doesn't say anything.
And he never blinked.
Just stares
and
through
just
your
makes
soul.
eye contact constantly.
Like cocks his head a little bit and jumps on his horse.
Huh?
Or does he communicate like the Copper Kid in Silverhawks, where he just plays the ocarina in weird ways? No one else gets Silverhawk.
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys are writing season 2 for me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Oh,
that'd
go
be
ahead.
fun. Just saying, there's a lot of potential out there if you're pulling other worlds.
For sure.
Hey, listen. Hey,
Who said that?
listen.
I had one that I was building actually for a pirate campaign that only ever ran one session, but it was pulling a lot of stuff from the anime manga series One Piece with just ridiculous superpowers and
Nice.
so.
Eliza, how about you?
It's a hard question for me. I have a million DM ideas, a million things like worlds, and I get really into the world building of it. One of the ones that I did that was a lot of fun. It was like a Mad Max world, but instead of it being a nuclear / environmental apocalypse that caused Mad Max, it was like Lovecraft Cthulhu.
Oh, sick.
It was a lot of fun, but I think and there's a lot of historical settings I always want to do. I'm a history teacher. So there's a lot of things like I would love to do like a Roman one. I would love to do, it'd be interesting to do like a medieval Europe, but like try to get it like really like actually reference like specific countries and things just because it's like, oh, like most fantasies heavily drawing on medieval Europe, but to really like kind of like mess with that. But I think the one that I really want to do, and I bought like Theros to help me like design it. And I've been like poring over like a whole bunch of things. I want to do a Bronze Age collapse themed campaign. So it takes place at the very end of the Bronze Age, which you don't see a lot in any real media. Have a lot of like Greek influence, but it could also be like I could draw on like Hittite and Babylonian and Egyptian stuff. And it's kind of like it's an interesting twist on frequently in fantasy. There's this idea of there was once something ancient and great, and that's what you have a lot of the leftover of. The Bronze Age, like in art, like that kind of comes from the Bronze Age collapse in our actual like human history, where there was actually this time where we had this like huge global networks and like pretty well like educated and wealthy and like well connected, and all this was like in the 1200 BCE and before, and it just all collapsed, and it's a big mystery. And now there's a whole bunch of ideas, but one of the things that used to people say a lot would be it was the sea people attacked. So I could go real literal with that in a D&D kind of setting where it's like all of a sudden these monsters are coming out of the sea and like destroying like nearby towns. Meanwhile, there's like famines and like all these like natural disasters occurring, and it's like you're a group of adventurers traveling the Eastern Mediterranean, fighting like minotaurs and hydras and like giant scarab beetles and scorpion people, all sorts of stuff. I've been working on this for a long time, but I just need to figure out when to actually bring this out. I've been keeping a note of like various like mythical items and whatnot, like having like Hercules like bow and arrow with the poison tips, or Achilles spear, or in Egypt the little scarab beetle that protects you from people telling you for like lying. Like there's all sorts of cool little things that I could pull from actual like history and mythology. But yeah, Bronze Age collapse. I've been wanting to do this forever, and I just need to figure out like when and how and who and all that. But that's my dream setting, coming to a stream near you. I don't know.
That's awesome.
That is incredible.
Amazing.
So cool.
We've all been conscripted into play at the same
Yeah.
So if you're looking for kind of Lovecraftian inspiration, a lot of the kind of tail end run of the Hellboy spinoff, the BPRD comics, deal with these eldritch horrors kind of coming to Earth and the last vestiges of humanity kind of trying to fight against them. So might be some fun inspiration for you. The Hell on Earth, the BPRD Hell on Earth story arc, especially.
And that's the one that has a homunculus in it, right?
Yes, Roger.
Yes.
Though he is no longer in the picture at that point in the story.
But yeah.
Spoilers! Oh my god!
I should say for the Mad Max kind of game that I mentioned, the way it actually started was on my birthday. I did a level 20 one-shot where Cthulhu was released, and I very much designed it so that the players lost. And then that was the intro to what would later become like a mini campaign that was going on. And they were dealing with like, went back to like level 1, and they were like in the apocalypse after the level 20 characters lost. And that was a lot of fun. I learned a lot though, trying to DM a level 20 one-shot combat game. Every round takes forever. Take that into account. That's the only thing I'm going to say. But
that sounds crazy. I was a big fan of the old computer game Wrath of the Gods, and your Bronze Age feels very much better than that. And that sounds really, really cool. Hercules was in that, and I don't remember what his purpose was, but it had something to do with carrots you could see in the dark, but that's neither here nor there. Jess, we are to you. Perfect dream setting for D&D.
I am really drawn to like the post-apocalypse style thing, and that was my first experience with D&D, so that's probably part of it, is that when my friends first introduced me to D&D, it was like a post-apocalypse type game. It wasn't like zombies, it was just like some disaster happened and we're like the remnants of society trying to like survive, was the setting for my first D&D experience. And I love the Fallout franchise. I love any type of post-apocalyptic survival game. It's just it needed in my veins. Love it. So like playing a D&D game in like the Fallout universe, and I know someone has made a Fallout like RPG, and I downloaded it and I've read it. It is complicated AF. Like I thought Pathfinder was intense. The Fallout RPG, I'm just like, so like that. Or I've never DM'd before, but I'm trying to make my own thing for like a one shot or something where it's on the like Jurassic Park island, but the players aren't playing the humans, they're playing the dinosaurs. Yes. And so I'm like making each dinosaur, like the T-Rex, I'm just like building it as like a barbarian, or the velociraptors like the rogue. And so then the dinosaurs are just like, what are these things on our island? We have to like chase them away. Like that's sort of what I'm building right now.
We have to fight off these invaders who are
yes,
home.
Exactly. Like so it's Jurassic Park. Yes. It's Jurassic Park from the perspective of the dinosaurs, and the players will
they're
be the
real
dinosaurs.
heroes. Yes.
Yes, exactly. The real heroes.
Goldblum is an optional ally.
Yes.
Okay.
He's a party NPC at one point.
I have a thought for Goldblum or for Jeff Goldblum's character and Mr. Malcolm and all that stuff, that this is post them, like this is post that part of Jurassic Park, and that I'm thinking about making those characters as like the pantheon of deities on the island that the dinosaurs worship.
So you have the god of chaos, Dr. Ian Malcolm.
Malcolm, yeah.
Yes.
And the goddess of knowledge and love, which is Dr. Sadler, and
and Hammond's like
the creator.
The creator, like Zeus. Yeah. I have that going on.
You know, on my list for season 2 is a Jurassic Park episode. So if you get this all ready to go, you can run that. Just saying.
Clever person.
Just like nature, I'm sure you will find a way.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Love it. All right, Matt, we got to you. Dream setting.
So I'm a huge horror fan. And what's popular in the horror industry and is a part of my favorite horror movie, Scream, is the self-referential like meta joke. Yes. So Lincoln knows this, and I'm gonna like maybe spoil a little bit for you, but I'm sure you kind of assume what's coming.
This is more like insider info than spoiling, so I'm here for it.
Okay.
Insider trading.
Like so I'm working on a campaign that is our D&D group sucked into the D&D world, so they all have made characters of themselves.
I love it.
And it's going to take place in our home city of New York, where something horrible has happened. And so they are going to be the chosen few that realize what's happening and have to stop it.
Amazing.
Ooh,
I love
Can't
it.
fucking wait.
but nobody gets to play themselves, right?
No, everyone has to play themselves.
See, I think it would be way more fun to have Lincoln play Rachel.
That's a good point.
We
I
have
feel
done
like
that
there'd
in
be
the
a lot of
past, actually.
fights.
There would, because she'd be like, I do not sound like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do in the game world.
You do in my head, wife.
Your head wife.
Yeah, but like
yeah.
everybody obviously plays lawful good human, more or less. Like if you want to make a case to me for something else, go for it.
Mhm.
But like I really want it to be a good thought experiment about, okay, actual me, if I were a D&D character, what would my background be? Like, what have I done in the past that would constitute these things? Like, what are my skills? What are my interests? Things like that. Like a
cool.
good self-exploration.
That
And
sounds
awesome.
incredible.
it has been
Yeah.
that. Building my character was just like, am I really not strong? No. No. Am I stronger than I'm dexterous? Probably. I think I can lift something more than I could get out of the way of something. So it's
When-
tricky.
When
Well,
building,
Boyd.
I do have a question. When building your characters, are you like, how do you decide stats? Are you doing like a point buy or like a point buy system? Like how are you deciding the stats?
that's a good question. Thank
Oh.
you so much for asking.
Oh.
I think you have to go
Actual
standard
physicals.
array. Like
Standard
standard
array.
array, because otherwise it's going to be really, let's face it, all of us are going to have either like 0, which is average, or like maybe negative, maybe a few ones here and there.
Yeah.
You don't want to get into that. Just be like, essentially rank your own stats, go
just did
standard
standard.
array. Don't
Yeah.
worry about like technically you're not like a +2 intelligence, because otherwise, like I'm sure you'd be doing something much better. Like I don't know. Like,
Matt's husband is probably like a +3 intelligence, if not
Okay, there we
5
go.
or
Some
10.
people.
He's going to be playing the weirdest character. I feel like there's going to be a lot of charisma at this table.
Yeah. Well, you have
It's all
three,
bards.
you have
It's all
3.5
It's all
people who went
bards.
to theater school. So yeah. All right. Last question of the night. We're going to go a little bit long, but this is actually Jess's question, and I think it's a great question. So roll me initiative, please. Jess, your own question to
Oh
you.
my. Oh boy.
As an LGBTQ person, how do you feel when you see a non-LGBTQ person playing a queer character either at your table or on a podcast or other live stream?
I didn't want to go first. Damn it. I wanted to know what other people thought first.
Do you want to defer since it's your question?
You know what?
You
It
can
is my
defer to
question.
Matt.
I want to go last
Okay.
because I want
Jess
to
will
hear
go
what other
last.
people say. I'm going to defer.
All right, Matthew, to you.
It does not bother me. Kind of how I view this game is I've talked about like different facets of your personality, self-exploration. Like we all feel that way, obviously. But there's also the pretending aspect of it that like it also doesn't bother me if someone who's known to be a straight actor plays a queer character, because like acting is acting. That being said, representation is important. So like I can see both sides, but personally I do not get upset is like the only answer I can give, is that like it doesn't hurt my feelings.
Very fair. Eliza.
I think in general, it doesn't bother me, because I think most, especially like as we said, D&D is a very welcoming community, particularly when I've seen like gay, bi, or lesbian characters being portrayed or played. Most even straight actors have a general sense, because at where we are culturally, a general sense of how to do that in a sensitive way. I haven't seen as many like non-binary and trans characters portrayed. But I kind of, most of the like kind of like well-known like role players and people that like are somehow were able to start making money playing D&D, which I still need to figure out how to do.
Right.
Yes.
They are
Same.
usually pretty good at this. They're actors, and they're also pretty well like big allies in the community, so it's not an issue. I feel like D&D is at a different point than something like mainstream media, where it is actually a little annoying when you have like a cis actor play a trans character, because it's like, well, there's plenty of trans actors that can't find any work. This seems kind of ridiculous. Like you could definitely find one if you actually tried, but that's mainstream media. There's hundreds and hundreds of actors. I feel like within D&D, it's a more insular community, and it's also a very supportive community. It's one that does help a lot of various queer people, and most of the people that are famous for it are generally pretty good at what they're doing and very respectful and very like communicative with the community, especially because it is so small. They are talking directly with people. There's not that separation, that huge distance between them. In general, I would say no. I haven't seen any that I've had a problem with. If it ever went super mainstream where it's like hundreds of people, at some point I would be like, okay, come on, you got to be able to find like more like non-binary or binary trans or bi or gay or lesbian. Like you got to be able to find someone. But we're not at that point, and the community is so small and communicative and supportive. I'm not worried about it right now. I think it's pretty good where it is.
John, we'll go to you.
For me, again, I'm without everyone on this. For me personally, if I'm at a table doing that, it doesn't matter to me in a lot of ways. The only way it gets under my skin is, one, if the person is making a like push that this is the only thing about their character. This is what defines them. Like, this is this. Like, I am this. For whatever reason, whether it's personal or whether it's a character choice, then that's something that may need to be talked about and saying, why does this have to define what you are? We have so many other things. This game is about building a character, not building a sexual orientation. Then also that goes with, I've played in games, unfortunately, with people who were doing it for a comedic purpose. Like they wanted to say, I'm gay, so I can do a lispy voice and prance around, whatever you want to do with it. And that's, I've had good DMs in the past that nipped it in the bud and said, it's not appropriate, especially because you don't represent that, and it's also a stereotype. Play something else. And that's the thing about this game. And you see this in Critical Role, Adventure Zone, stuff like that. They will nip it in the bud if they have a guest come on. Harmontown did it right off the bat, which was humongous, with one of their guests that was a comedian that came on and was not giving it their all. And he's like, you can't do that. This is not what you do. Play anything you want, explore anything you want. We've all done it in the game, but don't make it the only facet of your character. It's if anything, secondary, tertiary, down the road. If it comes up, that's great. You're in this moment now to play with this group, to go on this adventure. And unless you're going to be, sleeping with the entire group, and that's part of it, that's fine. But that's a bard thing. That's not a sexual orientation thing. Right. That's very bard.
Yeah.
Unless you're a satyr.
I think bards and satyrs are like cut of the same cloth. It is really what it is.
Two sides of the same coin.
See, now I want to
bard.
play a bard satyr. I mean,
it's built
There
in
it
there. You
is.
have pipes.
It's true.
In your pants, and also, so it's
Philip, on to you.
I really have little problem with it as long as they are being respectful. It can be, as y'all have said, it can be a great tool for exploration for people who may not realize that they necessarily fall into the LGBTQ community. They may not realize that they're playing along with some stereotypes. They may have some stumbling points along the way. But I would think of it as an opportunity to help educate them on particular issues that might come up if they get to the point where the character becomes problematic. I would prefer to talk to them about it either in character at the table, have someone call them out on problematic behavior, or, as the DM, take them aside and say, hey, here's what we need to address. Here's how you can improve on this. Here's how you could be better. But let's not try to hurt people. Let's try to help people.
One of the questions we didn't get to was red flag and even yellow flag moments. And I feel like that's a prime example of just being like, hold up, stop. We need to talk about what's happening right now. And I feel very, very fortunate. And I think it's because I'm playing with my very good friends that I've never had one of those moments in our game. Because I don't like confrontation. So as the DM, to be the one to be like, I need to talk to you about what you're doing. I don't want to do that. I don't want that at all. All right, Jess, we made it back around to you.
Yay.
Your own question. Back at you.
Yay. Yeah, and that's kind of why I wanted to see what everyone else said, because I don't know that I can add much more to this after whatever, because I know how I felt about it. And I assumed everyone else felt similarly, but that's why I wanted to hear what everyone said first, that I actually enjoy seeing other people's portrayal of the LGBTQ community, only if it's done in a respectful and like not stereotypical way. I know we mentioned Critical Role, but just because it's fresh in our minds, the Bo Yasha date was
spoilers.
beautiful.
Oh my God. What?
I'm so sorry.
I'm kidding.
It's 2 weeks ago.
I'm there.
It was 2 weeks ago.
That's because their characters are so well defined.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But it's not about, they aren't just like the lesbians.
Yeah.
Like that's not who they are. That was built up over, 120 episodes of them role-playing together. So it felt natural. So when it's done like that in like a respectful way, where it's like, yes, I'm playing a character who happens to be a lesbian, or yes, I'm playing a character who happens to be trans or gay or asexual something. It's not like Jon said, it's not the only thing about their character, then and it's respectful, then awesome. I encourage people, kind of like I think Phil said, that I encourage people because it can be a tool to explore different parts of yourself. And like you said, like maybe someone's not sure that they actually fall onto a certain spectrum of gender or sexuality, and D&D helps you figure that out. Like, yay. Right here.
It gives you rules to play within.
Yes.
You don't have to be like, so you're just there and you have the grounding.
That was something that I felt the 5th edition Player's Handbook actually did very well at making it explicit that members of the LGBTQ plus community are welcome in D&D. Please, feel free to be yourself.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And even if you're not using it to explore, which I think is something we've talked about a lot because we are all part of like the queer community in one way or another. Even just if like right before I came out, I mentioned that I had a male character and that he was gay. One of the other players in that game, we were starting to develop a relationship between those two characters. Now he's not gay, he's not queer, he's not any, he's straight, cis, het, but because he was willing, like we were willing to build this character relationship together where they were going to be these two gay lovers, and we were building that over a long time. Like it didn't happen right away, but at some point I texted him and I'm like, should this be a thing? And he messaged me back and he's like, I think it makes sense at this point. I'm like, yeah, probably. Because he was willing to play into that, it made me feel comfortable when I came out. So even if you're not using it to explore, even if you're perfectly comfortable with where you are, even if you're cis het, like totally cool, awesome, even just doing that just because like, oh yeah, sure, why not? It made like someone like me more comfortable. I think he was the first person in our group that I came out to. I think I remember calling him being like, by the way, this is why my character is changing. I'm sorry, because I know we were developing the whole thing. I'm sorry to change that on you. But because of that, he wasn't exploring anything as far as I know. I mean, he's welcome to come out and I'll be there for him. But as far as I know, it helped me feel more comfortable too. So it could be a way of showing support if you're respectful.
Yeah.
Bingo.
I have one baby story to share, and it's about Matt's husband's character. Early on, he established that Lunin was asexual, wasn't really important. It was just kind of early on of like, oh, and we were just kind of discussing it at the table. But he is an elf wizard, and there is an elf former adventurer in Phandalin who's pretty dreamy. And Lunin has a bit of a thing for this guy. And the last time we were in town, they went to brunch and that guy was there. And the party started kind of teasing him and ribbing him. And he got so embarrassed that he just cast invisibility on himself so that he could get out of brunch. And then he just sat through brunch invisible the rest of the time because Edorath was over there and he was just so nervous to be around him. It was adorable. And then you can have fun moments like that really have no implication on the game whatsoever, but are fun character building exercises. Everybody, this has been so much fun. Thank you for making the final episode of season 1 very informative for me. This has been fucking great to just learn these perspectives, because being new to the community too, and seeing these different aspects as I'm consuming the media and everything, and it's fascinating. And I hope that it has been educational for, we lost Philip again. It's been educational for viewers as well. Well, while Philip tries to get back into the Zoom meeting, let's do some plugs. This is gonna drop.
It's a flat circle.
March 19th.
It is a flat circle.
I thought that was Discworld.
It's all the same, man.
Damn corrected.
We're in the Matrix.
Learn,
Jess.
Dunamancy, and you can just change it. Doesn't matter.
Right.
That's true.
Do what you want. Jess.
Yeah.
Socials, plugs, anything you got coming around the 19th of March.
If you want to follow my nonsense tweets on Twitter, I'm at Jess Next Door VO. I'm also Jess Next Door, but no E on Instagram. And if you want to watch my show, it's called Fables of Refuge. It's on twitch.tv/fables_of_refuge.
It is, in
Where
fact.
the blue dragonborn monk.
I caught an episode once because you were live streaming at like 11 o'clock my time. And I was like, hey, I'm
I
sitting
got
at my
nothing to
desk.
do.
I can watch this. Eliza, socials, anything coming around the 19th of March?
Yeah, so 19th of March, parent-teacher conferences, I think.
Are you ready?
Thank you for the reminder.
I'm not ready. Yeah, so as far as socials go, I think last time I said a different one, but I picked a new one. So at Ancient Eliza, one word, Eliza, ALIZA, is my Twitter. It's mostly a mix of politics, me complaining about how poorly the DOE has been handling everything lately, and also a lot of like trans stuff and a few D&D things in there as well. But I don't really have any projects coming up, not for a while at least. I do plan on having a few things come out in the summer, but I'm not at that point yet. So I was on an episode of The Flores Dungeon recently, if you want to check out, which Steiner has done.
Nice.
And that's a podcast. I was Lovecraft in the jungle, which, speaking of Lovecraft and stuff like that. But yeah, fun times.
2 episodes, a couple Warforged. It was friggin' good.
Mm-hmm.
There's like Olympic style games. It was bananas. John.
Nice stuff. It hasn't changed much since the last episode, but my Twitter and Instagram are at the JV Lexicon. More active on Instagram than Twitter at this point. But you can also catch me on the Improvised Weapons podcast as Yarfik Stormhammer, the now warlock dwarf, used to be a cleric and gave it all up. And then I'm also going to be on the One Shot Firing Range on Twitch, which is my DM Radio Free Will. He is taking every week a new system, doing a one shot of it with people who've never played it before, and see if we can figure out the rules and do it all live. So it'll be fun. I think this week is Mutants and Madness. Should be fun.
Neat.
Matthew, what's new over at Hello Woods?
That's basically the long and short of it. Instagram at Hello Woods, Hello like Halloween, Woods like the forest. I draw a lot of Halloweeny spooky stuff. I'm an illustrator. It's mostly cute.
It is cute. I follow you. It's cute.
You can also find some stuff and contact all that through my website, which is MatthewWoodsArt.com.
You should check out his Instagram because he just finished February, which was a collaboration between him and my wife. She wrote short stories about little fey creatures. My favorite was the butterfly, and second favorite was the hobgoblin.
Billy Wiggins and Hobgoblin.
Right.
Hobgoblin is a D&D story.
It is.
Yay.
It's really cute.
About a hobgoblin who wants to be good.
Just wants to adventure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cry.
He's
All right.
cute.
And lastly, Philip, before we lose you to the power and internet gods.
To the ether.
No worries.
You can find me on Twitter. I am at FlipWriter, all one word. If you want to, listen to me complaining about library stuff and occasionally talking some D&D. If you want to find my book reviews or other kind of random writing, you can check out swordsoftheancients.com. That is my blog. That's really about it. I don't know that I've got anything else coming up anytime soon other than sticking around for whenever Lincoln decides to start season 2.
Yeah.
So, thank y'all for hanging out with us this time around. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is
And
really
thank you.
nice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all for being here. This has been very, very fun and informative, and I loved it. I'm Lincoln L. Hayes, at Lincoln L. Hayes on all the socials. You can find this show at my website, lincolnlhayes.com/session0. Yeah, season 2. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but right now it feels like it's going to be a mix of actual play with some one-shots and then more of these kind of panel discussions. Maybe there'll be a wrap up of the episode or diving into other topics, one that Jess recommended that I'm very excited to do is dice. Why do we care so much about dice? Why are we so attached to them? What is it about them? And why are my purple dice my favorite and my players' least favorite? So all those things and more, probably sometime this summer. We'll see how it goes. And of course, there's the podcast form too, which if you're listening to that is a redundancy, but as you're watching this, the podcast comes out later. So time. Anyway, thank you all. This has been great. I can't believe we did 14 episodes of this. Neither can Rachel. She's very ready for me to be done and give me my Thursdays back. But you know what? We got to create and you got to keep doing stuff because this pandemic will end. It will. It fucking will.
Go get your Fauci ouchie if you can.
That's right. If you can get it. And just, don't forget to love each other because that's what it's all about. All right. Thank you all for watching. Go play some D&D. Goodbye until season 2. Hey, it's me again. Did that seem like fun? All that D&D talk? Well, I could teach you if you want. Just go to my website, lincolnlhays.com/storytelling, and take a look. I can teach it a couple hours, run through the basics with you, do a small session, see what you think. I can run it for just you and a couple friends, you and your family, you and some coworkers. What do you got to lose? If you don't like it, it's one night of TV you don't watch. But if you do like it, you have a hobby you can play for the rest of your life. Sounds good to me. Head over to my website, lincolnlhays.com/storytelling. Let's chat. And thanks for watching Session 0. See you next week.